You ever catch yourself thinking about how your body just knows what to do? Like seriously, how does a single cell transform into a heart, a brain, a toe? Wild, right? Well, get this. Today, we're going to unlock one of the biggest secrets in our bodies. We're doing a deep dive into the 2024 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Buckle up.
And this prize, awarded for an amazing discovery about, get this, a hidden language within our very cells.
A hidden language, no way. Okay, so tell me more.
So this language, it's like the control panel for how our bodies are built, how they work, the whole shebang.
This year's Nobel Prize honors two scientists, Victor Ambros and Gary Ruvkun, who basically cracked a major part of that code. And get this, they discovered something called microRNA.
Over 1,000 different types of these tiny molecules in the human genome alone.
1,000? You're kidding me.
Nope, this isn't just some random scientific finding. This is huge EE. This is about how our bodies work, on like the most basic level. Development, fighting off disease, everything.
Okay, hold on. I got to back up for a second. This is amazing, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's set the stage here.
Good idea.
Okay, imagine your DNA like a giant instruction manual for your body.
Makes sense.
For years, scientists, they thought it was all about which pages were open, which were closed. Determining which proteins were made.
Yeah, that's the classic central dogma of molecular biology. DNA to RNA to protein.
Exactly. Turns out there's a whole other system, kind of like sticky notes and highlighters, controlling things behind the scenes.
Way more complicated than we ever knew.
And way more awesome. That's where microRNA comes in.
A completely new layer of complexity in how our genes are, well, regulated?
I am so here for it. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Their groundbreaking work. It all started with a creature you might not expect.
Let me guess. A lab rat.
Even smaller.
Smaller than a rat. Okay, you've got to be kidding me.
I'm totally serious. We're talking about a tiny, like microscopic, transparent roundworm. C. elegans. Ever heard of it?
C. elegans, that sounds familiar, but okay, tiny worm, big deal. I don't get it.
Well, it is a big deal. Might be small, but this worm, it's like the lab rat of the microscopic world. They share a surprising number of cell types with us humans.
Whoa, seriously, that's actually kind of cool. I'll admit it.
Right. So Ambrose, he was studying a gene in this worm called Lin4, and he found it produced a really, really short RNA molecule. But here's the thing, it didn't seem to code for any protein.
Wait, what? Then what on earth was it doing? That's like a word that makes no sense in a sentence. It's just there.
Exactly. A total head-scratcher. At the time, it was a complete mystery. Meanwhile, Ruvkun, he was busy working on a different gene in the same worm Lin14, trying to figure out how it was regulated.
And I bet it gets complicated.
Oh, you bet it does. See, the thing is, it wasn't happening in the DNA level like most gene regulation.
So where was it happening?
His research showed that the regulation was happening way later, during protein production.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Ambrose finds a short RNA, doesn't code for anything, seems useless. Ruvkun is over here trying to figure out how this Lin14 gene is being regulated, and it's all happening at a completely different stage than expected.
And you know where this is going, right? There's separate research, about to collide in a big way. Get ready for some serious scientific serendipity. It's like finding two puzzle pieces from completely different puzzles and realizing, wait a minute, they fit perfectly together.
That's a great way to put it. They realized that the short RNA sequence Ambrose found was a perfect match for a part of Ruvkun's Lin14 gene. It wasn't just some random bit of genetic code. It was directly interacting with Lin14. But here's the kicker.
Hit me with it.
It wasn't happening at the DNA level like they initially thought.
So what was going on?
This tiny piece of RNA, it was actually binding to Lin14's messenger RNA.
Okay, for those of us who haven't thought about biology since high school, remind me, what's messenger RNA do again?
Oh, right. So messenger RNA, it's like the courier service, It carries the instructions from the DNA to the protein-making machinery in the cell.
Makes sense.
And this little piece of RNA, which they called microRNA, it was basically grabbing onto that messenger RNA and, well, putting on the brakes.
Putting on the brakes. So it wasn't making the protein.
Exactly. It was controlling how much protein was being made.
Whoa, so it's not just turning genes on or off, it's like fine-tuning their activity.
Precisely, like a dimmer switch for your genes.
Yeah.
They found a way to control the volume of gene expression, not just the on-off switch.
Okay, that is way cooler than I even thought. But I have to imagine not everyone was immediately on board with this whole microRNA thing, right?
Well, you're right. There was definitely some initial skepticism. Some scientists thought, okay, cute discovery, but it's just a worm. This is probably just some weird thing these microscopic worms do.
Yeah, you can almost hear them now. Come back when you find it in something other than a nematode.
Huh. Exactly. But thankfully, Ambros and Ruvkun, they weren't phased. They knew they were onto something big.
And they were.
Eh.
Because their next discovery really blew the whole thing wide open. They found another microRNA. This one was called Let7.
And Let7, well, it wasn't just hanging out in C. elegans.
Oh, really? Where else did they find it? Spill the tea.
Get this, it was in a whole bunch of different organisms. Flies, mice.
Don't stop now. I can feel it in my bones.
Humans! They found Let7 in humans.
Game over. Mic drop. The skeptics had to admit, this microRNA thing, this was way bigger than just a worm thing.
Oh, absolutely. This was clearly a fundamental mechanism, something present throughout the animal kingdom. It's like they stumbled upon a hidden language that all these organisms use. And remember that whole thing about over 1,000 different microRNAs in the human genome? Well, after Let7, the floodgates were open. Researchers started finding microRNAs everywhere, controlling all sorts of cellular processes.
Okay, so we've gone from a puzzling short RNA to a whole army of microRNAs regulating our genes. It's like this secret world inside our cells has been unlocked, and it's way more complex and amazing than we could have imagined. This is some seriously cool science. I mean, seriously, think about it. This isn't just about worms and labs and scientific papers. This is about you and me, about everybody.
This is about the future of medicine.
Exactly. These tiny molecules, they could hold the key to treating everything. Cancer, Alzheimer's, you name it. We're talking personalized medicine here, people. Like tailoring treatments to an individual's genes. It's like something straight out of Star Trek becoming reality.
It really is remarkable. And this Nobel Prize, it's not just about celebrating Ambros and Ruvkun. It's about celebrating science.
I love that.
That constant pursuit of knowledge, that drive to understand how things work. I mean, who would have thought that a 1 millimeter long worm would completely change how we think about human genes?
It's amazing, right? Makes you wonder what else is out there. What other secrets are hiding, just waiting for someone to find them? I mean, if something this important was hidden for so long, what else is our DNA capable of?
It really makes you feel small, doesn't it? This whole universe inside of us controlling everything. We had no idea. It just goes to show how much we still have to learn.
Right. Like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, this deep dive has been quite the journey. We started with a tiny worm and ended up in a whole other dimension of gene regulation.
A hidden language inside our cells.
It really is incredible. And it just goes to show sometimes the biggest discoveries, they come from the most unexpected places.
And those discoveries, they can change everything.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into this year's Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. It's been a blast exploring the incredible world of microRNA with you. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and never stop exploring.